A large passenger aircraft glided majestically through the morning sky, its silver wings slicing through thin clouds as it descended toward Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Inside the cockpit, Captain Emily Thompson maintained her signature calm, her hands steady on the controls as she listened to the rhythmic exchanges between air traffic control and her co-pilot. Flight 279, cleared for final approach, runway 27R. Her co-pilot acknowledged the instruction, and Emily adjusted the throttle with practiced precision. She exhaled slowly, feeling the hum of the engines vibrate through her seat, a sensation that never failed to ground her in the moment. 10 minutes to landing. She gazed out at the cotton-like clouds floating in the brilliant blue. The world below looked peaceful, the city of Chicago stretching endlessly under the morning sun. A soft smile touched her lips. "I'm so grateful to have a job where I can see views like this every day." And just like that, memories from decades ago began to surface, the ones that had set her on this path. A little girl with big dreams. Emily was 7 the first time she fell in love with the sky. Her father, James, had taken her to the annual Chicago Air Show. The roar of the engines, the dizzying spirals of fighter jets, the dazzling sunlight reflecting off their metallic bodies, everything about it left her breathless. "Daddy," she asked, her voice full of wonder, "how can I become someone who flies those planes?" Her father chuckled softly, kneeling beside her. "Well, sweetie, there aren't many female pilots yet. It would be a very challenging path." But Emily's bright brown eyes never wavered. "I don't care. I'm going to become a pilot." There was something in her tone, a quiet certainty that even her father couldn't dismiss. He smiled and rested a hand on her shoulder. "All right, then, do your best, my little sky girl." From that day forward, Emily devoted herself to her dream. While other children played outside, she spent hours reading about aircraft, air pressure, and flight dynamics. Her school notebooks were filled not with doodles, but with sketches of wings and turbine engines. Her parents supported her in every way they could, every book, every science camp, every late-night study session. But not everyone in her family shared their enthusiasm. The seeds of jealousy. Emily's younger sister, Sarah, had always been effortlessly charming. She was beautiful, vivacious, and adored by everyone, the kind of girl people naturally gravitated toward. Yet in their parents' eyes, Emily's achievements seemed to shine brighter. Sarah began to notice. "All you ever do is study," she sneered one evening. "It's so unladylike." In middle school, that jealousy evolved into cruelty. She spread whispers in hallways, laughing with her friends as she painted Emily as a boring geek who thinks she's smarter than everyone. They hid her textbooks, mocked her clothes, and rolled their eyes at her ambition. At home, Sarah would play innocent. "Mom, can I get some new dresses? I don't want to end up looking plain like Emily." Though her words stung, Emily said nothing. Instead, she buried herself in her work. Every insult only sharpened her focus. Every sneer became fuel. By the time she was 15, Emily had made a life-changing decision to leave home and attend an aviation-focused high school in Arizona. Her parents hesitated, but her father eventually nodded. "If this is what you truly want, then go. The sky is waiting for you." Sarah, meanwhile, smiled in quiet relief. "Finally," she said under her breath, "the house will be normal again." Emily caught the tone but didn't react. She simply looked at her sister, her heart filled with both sadness and resolve. "Goodbye, Sarah." Wings of determination. Life in Arizona was a breath of freedom. For the first time, Emily was surrounded by people who shared her passion. Though only a handful of students were women, she quickly earned respect with her unwavering discipline and calm under pressure. After graduation, she earned a coveted spot at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, one of the world's top aviation schools. Those 4 years were grueling, long hours of flight training, endless technical exams, and nights when exhaustion made her doubt everything. But every time she looked up at the endless sky, she remembered the little girl at the air show. And she kept going. Her perseverance paid off. At 24, Emily obtained her commercial pilot's license and was hired by a major airline. When she put on her uniform for the first time, she stood before the mirror in tears, not out of pride, but quiet disbelief. She had done it. Home again. 8 years had passed since she left Illinois. When Emily finally returned home, she was no longer the quiet girl buried in books. She was Captain Thompson, professional, composed, and fiercely independent. Her parents welcomed her with open arms. "Well done, Emily," her father said, eyes glistening. "You've made us so proud." Her mother hugged her tightly, overwhelmed with emotion. Only one person stood apart. Sarah watched the reunion from across the room, her arms crossed, a faint smirk on her lips. The years had only enhanced her beauty, and she wore it like armor. Beneath that calm smile, however, something darker flickered, resentment that her boring sister had become someone admirable. The man who changed everything. Emily's life soon intertwined with that of Michael Porter, a maintenance engineer at the same airline. He was quiet, diligent, and humble, qualities Emily respected. They first met during a pre-flight inspection. "I'm scheduled for the 8 a.m. Chicago-San Francisco route," Emily said, reviewing the checklist. "Any issues with the plane?" "No issues," Michael replied, smiling. "But, maybe we can go over the details over coffee?" Emily hesitated but agreed. Over that coffee, a spark formed. Michael shared how he had once dreamed of being a pilot but hadn't passed the exams. "Seeing you makes me wish I'd tried harder," he admitted. Emily smiled gently. "You're still flying, just from the ground. Without engineers like you, people like me couldn't take off." That simple remark drew them closer. Over the next 2 years, they became inseparable. Their shared understanding of aviation bonded them deeply. Emily believed she had found the man meant for her. Then, one evening as they dined overlooking Chicago Bay, Michael presented her with a small velvet box. "Emily, will you marry me?" Her heart swelled. Yes. It felt like everything had finally come together, her career, her love, her future. But destiny, it seemed, had one more storm waiting beyond the horizon. The family dinner. A month later, Emily brought Michael home to meet her family. Her parents were thrilled, preparing an elaborate dinner to celebrate. Sarah, now working in ground operations for an airline, arrived fashionably late in a shimmering dress. "So, Michael," she said sweetly, "you work in aviation too?" "Yes, I'm a maintenance engineer." "Oh, how wonderful," Sarah replied, leaning forward. "You must meet so many interesting people. Lots of women, I imagine?" Emily noticed the way Sarah's tone dripped with suggestion. Her stomach tightened, but she stayed silent, unwilling to ruin the night. Yet, as the evening wore on, Sarah's flirtation became bolder, brushing Michael's sleeve, laughing too loudly, ignoring their parents' disapproving glances. When their mother finally snapped, "Sarah, enough. This is your sister's fiancé." She merely smiled. "What? We're going to be family soon, right? No harm in getting close." Emily forced a polite smile, but deep down, a chill spread through her chest. The beginning of betrayal. In the weeks that followed, Michael began to change. He grew distant, often canceling plans and responding vaguely to texts. Then, late one night, Emily came across something that stopped her breath, a photo on Sarah's social media. Michael at a luxurious restaurant, glass of wine in hand. The caption read, "An unforgettable night with someone special." Her heart pounded. It couldn't be. But she knew. When Sarah called her days later, "Sis, can we talk?" "Saturday at the diner near West Side?" Emily agreed, though a quiet dread gnawed at her gut. That Saturday, she walked into the diner and froze. Sarah sat across from Michael, their hands intertwined, faces full of quiet guilt and shameless triumph. Emily's voice trembled. "What's going on here?" Sarah smiled, a picture of false innocence. "I'm sorry, sis, but we can't turn back now." The words hung heavy in the air, but the next ones shattered Emily completely. "We're having a baby." For a moment, Emily forgot how to breathe. Her world tilted. The chatter of the diner faded into nothing but the pounding of her heart. "You're lying," she whispered. Sarah's smile widened. "Of course not. That's why we wanted to tell you in person." When Emily turned to Michael, he couldn't even meet her eyes. "What do you have to say?" He swallowed. I have to take responsibility." "Responsibility?" Emily's voice cracked. "What about our engagement?" He sighed. "We weren't married yet. It's not like I cheated on a wife. And I already cancelled the venue. I was thinking Sarah and I could." That was when Emily's trembling hand knocked over her glass. Ice and tea spilled across the table, and her voice rose in fury. You betray me and expect me to pay the cancellation fee? The entire diner went silent. Sarah leaned forward with a cold smile. Sis, don't make a scene. Emily's fists clenched. You think you've won? You think you've taken something from me? And in that moment, something hardened inside her, a quiet, burning resolve that would soon change everything. The tension in the restaurant was thick enough to cut through. The clatter of cutlery and faint chatter from nearby tables seemed to fade into silence as Emily's calm, cold words echoed. Michael is just a maintenance engineer. That's what he's always said, that he works in aviation. But I've been bragging to everyone about having a pilot boyfriend. Sarah's voice trembled as color drained from her face. The sparkle of pride she had carried moments earlier vanished in an instant. Michael's eyes widened. He looked between the two sisters, panic washing over his face. You just assumed. I never said I was a pilot. Shut up. Sarah's scream ripped through the restaurant like broken glass. Heads turned. Forks froze mid-air. You deceived me. You assumed it yourself. Michael shot back. I couldn't say anything because of you. Emily rose from her chair with composed grace. Her posture was straight, her tone measured, almost chillingly calm. I have something to ask you, she said, her gaze fixed on Sarah. Are you really pregnant? The question hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Sarah blinked rapidly, her lips twitching. Well? Show me proof. Sarah's mouth opened, but no words came. Not yet, she muttered. Without hesitation, Emily reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope bearing the insignia of a detective agency. She placed it on the table with quiet finality. What are these photos? Can you explain? Sarah's fingers trembled as she unfolded the photographs. Her face went white. Inside were undeniable images, her and Michael meeting in secret, walking arm in arm into a luxury hotel, dining in dimly lit restaurants, exchanging glances meant for lovers. Each photograph was stamped with clear dates and times. No way, Sarah whispered. You were investigating me? Emily's voice was firm, but low. Of course. My fiancé was having an affair with my sister. What did you expect? Michael's voice cracked. Affair? You weren't even married yet. An engagement, Emily said sharply, is a legal promise, and the pregnancy, that's a lie, isn't it? Sarah's composure shattered. She pushed back her chair, her face flushed with fury. That doesn't matter, she shouted. You've always been ahead of me, always praised by our parents. I thought I'd finally won this time. The entire restaurant fell silent. Every eye was on them. Michael hid his face in his hands, head bowed, his shame visible in the trembling of his shoulders. Emily looked at her sister with a tired kind of sadness. Win or lose, she said softly. You tried to steal my fiancé. For something like that? She sighed and gave a fragile smile. You know, Sarah, I've always envied you, your beauty, your charm, your effortless way of being liked, but you never saw your own worth. You were too busy comparing yourself to me. Shut up, I don't need a lecture from you, Sarah shouted, her voice cracking. Snatching her purse, she turned and ran out of the restaurant, her heels clattering across the marble floor. Michael started to rise, his mouth opening to speak, but Emily's gaze froze him in place. Her calm had returned, cold and final. Will you forgive me? He said weakly. I was ashamed of being a maintenance engineer. Emily's reply came quietly, but it cut like steel. What's shameful isn't your job, it's your behavior. Being an engineer is an honorable profession, but you lied, and you betrayed. Our relationship was a mistake from the beginning. She laid a few bills on the table. Never appear before me again. Then she turned and walked out, her silhouette framed by the warm light spilling from the restaurant windows into the fading spring evening. Outside, Chicago's streets glowed beneath the soft orange twilight. Emily inhaled deeply, the cool breeze brushing her cheeks. Her heart still ached, but beneath the pain was an emerging steadiness, resolve. She pulled out her smartphone. A contact was already on the screen. Jessica Morrison, attorney at law. 2 days later, in a high-rise office overlooking Chicago's glittering loop, Emily sat across from attorney Morrison. The lawyer, a composed woman in her 40s, adjusted her glasses as she studied the documents and photographs Emily had brought. While compensation claims for broken engagements aren't as common as post-marriage infidelity cases, Morrison began. You have a strong case. You can claim damages for emotional distress, engagement costs, and the false pregnancy. Emily listened silently, her eyes steady. First, Morrison continued, tapping the papers, we have clear evidence of a formal engagement, the family meeting, the purchase of the engagement ring, and the wedding venue deposit. Second, the photographs show infidelity with your sister. That's beyond dispute. Emily's voice was quiet but resolute. Sarah insists it's not infidelity since we weren't married. The lawyer frowned. That's a convenient excuse. Engagements carry legal weight, especially when betrayal occurs within the family. And the false pregnancy? That's fraud. Plain and simple. She paused, studying Emily's tired expression. This is malicious, Emily. Coldly calculated, but you're handling it with more dignity than most could. They discussed settlement amounts. Michael would be held liable for the wedding expenses, emotional damages, and the cost of the engagement ring. Sarah's share would include damages for emotional distress, betrayal, and the fake pregnancy. Before filing, I'll send them a settlement offer, Morrison said. When they see the numbers, they'll know you mean business. When Emily stepped out of the building, dusk had turned to deep orange. The skyscrapers shimmered like molten gold. Her phone buzzed, 22 unread messages from Sarah. She didn't open a single one. Days later, Sarah's furious scream echoed through her apartment hallway as she tore open a certified envelope. There's no way I can pay this much. She ran to her parents' house, makeup smudged, desperation in her voice. Dad, Mom, please, you have to help me. Her father's expression was grave. You must reap what you sow. Sarah, do you realize what you've done to your sister? Stealing her fiancé? You've brought shame to our family. Her mother crossed her arms, sighing. But I don't have any savings. Sarah whispered. Oh? Her mother snapped. Weren't you buying designer clothes every week? Posting about luxury dinners? You had money then. You just didn't think this day would come. Sarah collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. But her parents didn't comfort her this time. Meanwhile, Michael's life was unraveling in its own way. Word of his affair spread quickly through the airline company. Mechanics and engineers began whispering whenever he entered the hangar. We can't trust someone who's ashamed of his own job, one senior engineer said coldly. Even the pilots, many of whom admired Emily, began keeping their distance. His reputation deteriorated faster than he could repair it. Then, one afternoon, Sarah stormed into his workplace, red-faced and frantic. Why did this happen? You've ruined my life, she screamed, drawing attention from everyone in the terminal. Security was called. Watching her being escorted out sealed Michael's fate. His supervisor called him in the next morning. We're letting you go, the man said. It's not just about performance, it's about trust. Months passed. Both Sarah and Michael agreed to pay the settlement. Sarah was fired from her job and moved into a small, one-room apartment on the outskirts of the city. She took 2 part-time jobs, cashier by day, fast food worker by night. Gone were the expensive clothes and nights out. She deleted her social media, unable to face the reminders of the life she once flaunted. One evening, while cleaning the empty aisles of the supermarket, she caught her reflection in the freezer door, tired, pale, unadorned. For the first time, she saw herself as she truly was. Her parents rarely called. Occasionally, her mother sent brief messages. You need to learn that actions have consequences. Keep working until you understand that. And Sarah did. Slowly, painfully, she began to. Michael's attempts to start over failed just as quickly. He joined another airline, but whispers followed him everywhere. One young female engineer who had admired him later found out about his past through old news threads and social media posts. I can't believe you did that, she said, voice trembling. Don't ever come near me again. He quit soon after. With nowhere else to go, he took a job at a small-town auto repair shop. My dreams of the sky are over, he muttered one afternoon, wiping grease from his hands as he glanced upward. High above, contrails streaked across the sky, each one a reminder of what he had lost. Emily, meanwhile, continued to fly. Her strength, professionalism, and quiet dignity earned her respect across the company. One evening, Her supervisor called her into his office. "We're expanding our Asian routes," he said. "We'd like you to lead the new fleet as chief pilot." It was a promotion and a new beginning in San Francisco. When she told her parents, her mother smiled through tears. "Go, Emily. You belong in bigger skies." Her father hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of you, kiddo." On the morning of her move, as they watched her walk toward the departure gate, her father whispered, "I remember that little girl who said she'd be a pilot someday. You kept your promise." San Francisco brought calm and renewal. The Pacific breeze, the new colleagues, the city's golden horizon, all of it symbolized freedom. In time, Emily met David, a kind, thoughtful physician who specialized in aviation medicine. Their connection grew slowly, built on respect rather than charm. "I truly admire your work," he told her once over dinner. "You've faced storms and still chosen to fly." Emily smiled. "That's life, isn't it? You face turbulence, but you keep your wings steady." One afternoon, while preparing for a flight, Emily received an email. It was from Sarah. "Sis, I think I'm changing little by little. I haven't finished paying off the settlement yet, but I will. And I'm sorry, truly, deeply sorry." Emily read the message quietly. Then she closed her laptop and gazed out at the clouds beyond the terminal window. She didn't reply, but she whispered, "Keep growing, Sarah. You'll find your own sky someday." Thousands of feet above the Pacific Ocean, the sunset burned gold and crimson against the horizon. Emily's voice came over the cabin speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting clear skies ahead. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy your safe journey." She set the microphone aside and smiled softly, hands resting on the controls. Life had taught her many lessons, but the most beautiful was this. After every storm, the sky clears. And beyond every heartbreak, there are always new heights to reach. Emily Thompson continued to fly, fearlessly, gracefully, endlessly, toward brighter horizons.